Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 509, recorded live on Saturday, March 3rd. I'm your host, Patrick. With me this week, we have a new guest. Welcome, Hephaestus.
Hello.
I think I got that right.
Yep, Hephaestus. That's right.
Excellent. Advantage of having names that are difficult to pronounce. You get better at pronouncing other people's names.
It's true.
It only helps for a point, though. Some people have some really creative names, shall we say. This week's screenshot, Senza gets a look from Militia in the 356th screenshot of the week. Thanks, Clavers, for sending in this week's screenshot. It's a nice shot with the wings going on there.
Yeah, it was really pretty cool.
Yeah, I think there's kind of an attempt to mimic. Needs a top hat though.
Yes, that is what it's missing.
Then you would have the real mimic going there.
Nice pose though.
Yes, very well done. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website, DDOcast.com. DDOcast is hosted by CyberEars, the awesome podcast hosting network, and shows are usually available within a few days of recording. The next show will probably be next Saturday, and you can stay updated by following us on our social media pages or our website, DDOcast.com, with our calendar. On the podcast this week, we've got some news. We'll get community news, but we've also got kind of version 2 of the proposed updates for Artificer, Renegade Mastermaker, and Druids and their wild shape. It's mostly wolf and bear form, so we'll talk about that kind of stuff. Before we get there, though, let's meet Hephaestus. So give us a quick synopsis of who you are, what you play, and what your experience with DDO is.
All right, cool. Well, this is already like a really cool honor to be on the DDOcast. Never thought I'd be on that. But I have been playing the game since about 11, whenever the free-to-play update hit. Toyed around for a bit, eventually landed with Artificer when it came out, and I've been in love with the class ever since. I've always loved Warforged and the Eberron kind of steampunk vibe, so I make a lot of builds like that. I try to emulate any kind of artificery, Gish type playstyle. And yeah, so if you ever have a question about Artificer, please, I live and breathe the class when I'm playing this game. And I also have, in the past year, started streaming, same username too, on Twitch. So yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah, welcome. All right, so let's get into game news. We're going to talk about Druids first, and then we'll talk about the Artificers. But before we get to the fun stuff, let's talk about the naughty people.
Oh, gotta have our vegetables. Yep.
So, all right. This is from Cordovan. There's a Saga Exploit Discipline. They are in the process of engaging in targeted disciplinary action against characters and accounts that engage in a recent exploit that allowed them to complete sagas and get rewards for them repeatedly without rerunning the saga. Players who engage in this activity will see one of several things happen to their accounts. They will be issuing temporary game bans, and in some cases will be removing the benefit they gained through this exploit. For our more repeat or malicious offenders, they will be removing the character that took frequent advantage of this exploit, in addition to more restrictive bans. Which, youch.
Yep.
Deleting characters, that's
pretty rough.
That's a new one.
Yeah. I don't know if we've ever seen that happen before.
No, and I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's one step short of a permanent ban. So, I mean, you're only losing probably one character as opposed to your entire account.
Yeah.
So there's that. But yeah, that's a pretty hefty discipline action that they're taking there. And you know, I mean, look, people, don't exploit. They're a little bit more savvy than you probably think they are about being able to track that kind of stuff. And something like that, if you're completing sagas without actually completing the sagas and getting the benefits from that, if it happens to you the first time, you're probably going to be fine. But if you are intentionally doing it over and over and over again, you can expect some kind of discipline. So, same with all the other stuff. Okay, let's put that behind us. Don't be naughty, don't exploit. Let's talk about Druids and stuff. So there was some question about well, let's go through the kind of what's been updated, and then we'll kind of cover some of the questions. So the version 2 was out, and we'll link to that in the show notes. So currently, Primal Avatar damage is not affected by the change, but they plan on giving it a proper cleave animations to look into making its spirit decay rate to be more manageable to classes who don't have persistent damage auras. More details will be posted when they get there. Activated attacks that require a specific weapon to be held in your hand will still not work in animal form because these attacks have animation requirements. However, things that modify your weapon base stats still work normally, such as changing your primary stat damage, stuff like that. So, also from a lore perspective, if it requires that you're holding a specific weapon in your hand, well, you're not holding a weapon and you don't have hands, so it seems somewhat reasonable.
Yep.
There was regarding spells, so there's some specific spell changes. So the following Druid innate animal spells will now work regardless of rage, feeble mind, quell, or anti-magic. Yay!
That's pretty cool.
So it was really annoying that you couldn't use, because they're essentially special attacks.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really spells. They're just using kind of a hack job of the systems that work. But you can never use them in front of a beholder and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's one reason I never really delved that much into it, because when I tried any melee druids, it was just kind of like, oh, this isn't working how I thought it would. Maybe I'll just stay in fire elemental form.
Yeah. There's some other changes to some of that stuff. A lot of DCs are getting half druid levels implemented in them. Jaws of Winter was dropped from level 7 to level 6. So there's kind of some stuff going on there. Enveloping Swarm is being redesigned as a single target instant application dot instead of a damage shield effect. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but we'll see how it goes. It also doesn't seem to stack, so I'm trying to remember those.
Yeah.
It's like a level 3 or 4 spell. I can't remember off the top of my head. Let's see. They're updating Snare. This one's kind of interesting. The reoccurring strength check now happens every 6 seconds, not every 2 seconds. It's a lot more effective, which in my general experience is not exactly a good thing because I tend to get entrapped by Snare a lot more than I entrap things with Snare.
Yep.
We'll see how well that works. That will also affect the Ranger version as well.
That's true.
The Creeping Doom will now do acid damage, benefit from acid spell power. Produce flame projectile speed is being increased. The Anger of Noonday Sun. Creatures affected who were resistant to fire now take full damage, as well as -8 fortification. Mantle Vice does the same thing. For cold damage, if they were immune to cold damage, they now take full damage. Now note that that's only if they were immune, right? That's not if they had resistance. That doesn't happen.
So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, that'll be
it's a big change.
Effective. There's also talk about doing something similar for sorcerers as well.
Yes, please. Sorcerers need it.
So if you run into something that's immune to your elemental damage, you can. I don't know if they should take full damage personally, but
maybe not full damage, but
yeah.
If it's immune now, it takes damage would be a DPS increase enough, I think.
Let's see. Elemental toughness. The DR was removed, but it now grants 1 PRR per druid level for the duration of the spell. So you get 20 PRRs, which isn't too bad. And let's see. So I'm gonna come back to the natural fighting feats because they changed that again. See, so the trees in Nature's Warrior Tier 3, they replace Stalking Prey with Ghost Pack. When Ghost Wolf is triggered, the spirits of your pack manifest around you, striking nearby enemies for 1d6 Bane damage per Wilderness Lore rank, which scales with melee power, and applies Confusion for 5 seconds, no save. Bosses are not affected by the Confusion. That's kind of nuts for level 3. It's a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
Be kind of fun. Tier 5, see, they updated Throat Rip to no longer require stealth. I like that change.
Me too.
Go for the Kill was a new ability. It's wolf form required. You charge your target, smashing into them for a +4 melee attack with a +1 critical multiplier to damage, and gain 15 melee power for 30 seconds. If the charge started from over 10 meters away, the melee power bonus is doubled. Does 50 additional bludgeoning damage against helpless targets. That scales with melee power. A lot in there.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The charge from a certain distance is kind of interesting. We'll see if that continues in some other forms as well. Nature's Protector. This is the Bear Tree. They updated Nature's Defense that elemental forms can now use it in the base and the base upgrades. So this is the one that's a defensive combat stance, similar to Stalwart Defender and Sacred Defender. And just like that one, they has so you've got your first 3 upgrades, then the second set of upgrades requires heavy armor. In this one, in Druid, it requires you to be in bear form. So now the fire and water stances or wild shape forms can use the initial defensive combat stance. That's pretty neat. I kind of like that.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
And then they also did in tier the 5th core. They added some attack speed by 5%. And then in the 6th core, they added another 5% attack speed. They updated Primal Beast in tier 2 now it does 5 or 10 melee power when raging in animal form, and you get an extra use of rage. In tier 5, they replaced improved Great Roar with Lightning Strikes the Mountain. Activating calls down a bolt of lightning that strikes the druid, granting 100% bonus to threat and MRR for 15 seconds. It's 20 or 40 MRR if you're in the Nature's Protector's stance. Nearby enemies also take 1d8 damage of lightning per wilderness lore rank. It scales with melee power, so it's kind of some fun stuff there. And then they went through the Season's Herald and reduced a bunch of cooldowns. All right, and then Torque was very active, answering a bunch of questions. So we'll kind of cover some of that here. SLAs, which are high level, 5+, and persistent damage effects, get treated as rare exceptions as is. They do have some plans and hopes to make high level damage spells out of book more spell point efficient soon, and they're loath to add too much competition to SLAs till they see if that works. That stuff should be coming next with the Arcane Pass, though it'll affect all casting classes somewhat. He did consider dropping Storm of Vengeance for Call Lightning Storm and lowering the cooldown significantly. He has heard that Beguile doesn't have much appeal. It wouldn't surprise them if something else replaced it, though they're pretty booked up on space, so it'll be a tier 1, whatever it is. They've heard requests to save Spell Penetration or the Wand Scroll enhancements, which may take its place if something new doesn't happen. I didn't realize that was getting dropped, the scroll stuff. That can be pretty helpful.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to see that stay as well.
Yeah. I know Voodu's going to be upset about that.
We'll see how Shared Spirit plays. It's easier to change numbers, so it can happen after we're on a test server. Percent hit point mods are very powerful once you stack in other things. Yes, that's why we like them. Crown of Summer did lose its light proc, but gained melee and ranged power instead. They're trying to use less proc effects, so less the combat number zip code over the monster is more legible, and each attack interaction is less complex for the server. Regarding some feats, you gain all the stats from a shield and can use feats that increase the shield's AC bonus, but do not benefit from shield mastery while you're in form because it's considered a combat style bonus. The reason why they're taking out the combat style feats is it helps them balance Wolf and Bear against other styles. That's why they're taking that. Because if they didn't, then you would be adding on to all that stuff, which means that would be less effective. So, Arcane should have some edge in damage and CC over Clerics Druids, typically when viewing the, quote, classic meta of D&D. The Winter Season is pretty strong on dots, and Ice Flowers still plays a role in its rotation as a decent AoE option when it's needed. They try to view the whole package generally, not compare each spell. Let's see, you can use Kensai Wolf with all the Kensai stuff for either feat. The only difference is you don't benefit from combat style feats while in animal form except for natural weapon fighting. There are a few edge cases, enhancements in the trees that involve attack speed increases that will not stack with the wolf speed. He mentions the Acrobat Quarterstaff, for example. Those will be labeled as they finish the pass. On the unarmed front, you actually do not hold a weapon, which is not recommended. You will do the wolf damage that is currently on live, but if you use hand wraps, you will still use normal hand wrap damage. Improved crit. This is important because this is a change. Improved crit will work based on the weapon you are holding. It used to be because you were essentially treated as unarmed, you had to use improved critical bludgeoning. Now it's whatever you're holding, so keep that in mind. Which will actually narrow my weapon selection down a little bit for my druid. It's kind of nice you could just pick one and it would work for all of them, but such is life.
True.
See, regarding Headman's Chop, yes, passive bonuses to weapons will always work. At least that is our working assumption right now. If there are a few attack speed-based abilities that do in a way that is specific to the animations of the style, they will not work and be flagged specifically in their description. Bear glancing blows can benefit from bonuses to any source. There's no crit range bonus in the tree. That's currently on purpose to encourage multi-classing. Not exactly sure if I like that.
Yeah, I think that's a little interesting. That and I've noticed this a little bit with the Renegade tree too, but a lot in the proposed Druid ones that they seem to really be focusing on. Sorry, I thought I was muted. On like multi-classing for melee druids. Yeah.
Well, I understand why it's not in Renegade Master because you get that in Battle Engineer. In Renegade Mastermaker, it's not really an offensive tree.
Right.
But you would think that they would add it, even if it was up higher than normal, you would think that they would kind of add in some stuff there. Because it is a pretty big part of the tree if you're doing meleeing, right? Not having a critical bonus is going to really...
Yeah. Is that just for bear, or is that also in wolf?
Ooh,
is there no critical?
I didn't grab what the question was, but I'm not positive on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
See, there was a question regarding Zeal, which is a paladin thing. He said they could easily move the natural weapon fighting to melee power. It's just the amounts we'd give it would be considered a nerf to anyone not running hot on double strike, so that's why we've been leaving it alone. They did change that, which we'll get to. Then Shield Mastery, which is treated as a combat style, will not work in the current plan when you're wolf and bear form. All right, so the natural fighting thing. So they're proposing changes to current natural weapon fighting. It can still be taken up to 3 times. So the requirement will drop from Druid level 9 to Druid level 3. That's a good change. So it used to be it was 3 double strike, 3% double strike. Now it will grant 3 melee power and 3 physical resistance while in any animal form. That strikes me as a pretty big nerf.
To wolf druids in particularly, I think so too. Yeah.
Wolf and bear.
Well, yeah, especially bear.
Well, you can take the stance that 3% double strike is roughly equivalent to 3% melee power in the sense that it's 3% of each, but double strike procs everything else, right? You're getting 3% more hits, which more procs, so it's not... I'm actually really kind of disappointed with it. It's pretty brutal of a change, I think. I think it needs to be buffed up a little bit more.
Yeah, I was thinking it might be melee power and the double strike.
Yeah, he did clarify later that it does remove the double strike. There is also new feats, Fangs of the Wolf, which requires at least 1 natural weapon fighting in level 6. While in any wolf form, you gain +1 bonus to tactic DCs, dodge cap, max dex AC bonus, and +2 reflex saves per natural weapon fighting feat you have. And then Claws of the Bear, which is another feat, requires at least 1 natural weapon fighting in level 6. While in bear form, you gain an additional +2 PRR per natural weapon fighting feat you have. And if power attack is active, you also gain 50% chance to cause glancing blow damage with the 3% weapon proc per natural weapon fighting feat you have. So there's a lot of stuff that people are kind of commenting on this. The biggest thing I saw was you're basically taking a tree. I mean, some of that new stuff is kind of nice, like the wolf and bear part is kind of neat. The problem is that you're now talking about if you just pick wolf or bear and focus on that, you're talking about a 4 feet line to do those. 5 if you want to
Yeah.
have both, which is much more. I mean, that's only 1 or 2 more than some of the other feet lines, but that's still pretty prohibitive if you're talking about percentage of number of feats you get in the first place, right? So
Yeah, they're not giving druids any more feats.
exactly. So I hope that they kind of go back in and look at that. I kind of find the idea interesting. I think someone actually just suggested, how about for tier 3 of natural weapon fighting, you get one of those, or if they would roll, like there was one was natural weapon fighting, and then there was Fangs of the Wolf, and then there was Claws of the Bear, and there were just 3 feats. And if you had all 3 of them, they kind of like built each other up. So like if you had Fangs of the Wolf and Claws of the Bear and 1 natural weapon fighting feat, you would get the benefit as though you had 3 natural weapon fighting feats, and then you'd get each of those feats or something like that. I think that could possibly work. But
I can see that.
I think 5 feats, if you want to have both wolf and bear form, is very prohibitive, considering you only get what, 7 feats.
Yeah, this is another reason why, just as a quick glance, when I was looking at it, I thought they really are catering to a multi-classed, especially fighter.
Yeah.
With this kind of melee. Yeah, I don't know. I agree. It is a bit prohibitive.
And then another change. So wolves and bears cannot attack an animal form with a missile weapon equipped. They decided against them barking shurikens and arrows, and as for using a missile weapon, stats and melee, they would really prefer not to have to consider what wolves do with great crossbows and melee going forward. Fair. I will miss
shooting
using
bolts out of its mouth.
I will miss using sun flasks at low levels. That was pretty efficient.
Yes.
Warlocks will still be able to Eldritch Blast, but they might eventually try to animate that better. Let's see, glancing blow damage is per feat, and other sources add to it, excluding two-handed weapon fighting, which will turn off while in bear form. Yes, Wolf could opt into heavy armor over evasion easily. They're trying to be flexible there. They want them both to be valid options. So, there you go. They considered making the Druid innate attacks use the highest stat instead of Wisdom or Strength to allow for Dex builds wolves more easily. You can see that. It'd be a pretty simple thing to just throw a dexterity thing in the wolf tree to use dex.
Oh,
to hit.
easily, yeah.
I don't really know. I'm trying to remember if there was actually something that allows them to use wisdom to hit.
I don't think so.
I don't think there was either. It was mostly in a favorite tool tree. All right, there's druids. Version 2 of Renegade Mastermaker. Less stuff going on here, but still kind of fun. So in the Arcano Technician, Uncaring Master is getting replaced with Arcane Skills, which is +1, 2, or 3 Spellcraft and UMD. Meh.
Yeah.
I mean, something is the other, and that seems fine to me. But the Paladin of Admixture now scales at 20 temporary hit points +1 per already level, 10 temporary spell points +1 for every 2 levels. That'll be a little more effective. Critical Admixture goes away to Mastermaker and gets replaced with Runic Efficiency, which is +1 Evocation DCs, +2 to cast level, and max cast level electric spells, and +2 to Root Arm DCs. And then in Mastermaker, the second core was updated to give you +4 alchemical bonus to AC. Core 4 was updated to give you +2 maximum dex bonus while in medium and heavy armor or adamantine body. And Core 6 was also updated. It now just reads +2 Constitution, +2 Intelligence, +10 PRR and MRR, +3 to maximum dexterity bonus while in medium, heavy, or adamantine body. And I think the cooldown stays the same. In Tier 2, Kinetic Discharge is a new ability. It's an activated melee cleave attack on hit. It's 1, 2, 3 weapon damage and a 2d6 force damage, which scales with melee power. That is replacing the spell power ability. They did update the action boost of Tier 2 to be defense or action boost saving throws. And then Kinetic Charge, which is a Tier 4 ability, replacing the spell power. Is anytime you hit an opponent in melee, you have a chance of gaining a stack of Kinetic Charge. Each stack grants a +1 shield bonus to AC for every 3 Artifice levels you have. This stacks up to 5 times for a potential total of +30 to AC. Yeehaw. Stacks decrement by 1 every 15 seconds, and gain a new stack resets the duration. When this ability is toggled on, using Kinetic Discharge will clear all stacks of Kinetic Charge and slow both movement and attack speed all affected non-boss enemies by 10% per stack cleared for 10 seconds. Woo, that's a lot.
It is.
It's an interesting ability. It's going to be very click happy.
Yep.
Which
Artificers are already very click happy.
a lot of races, a lot of classes are really. But yeah, it'll be pretty click happy there. Embed component was updated. See, they gave Contract Essence or Warforged required. You get +5, 10, or 15 MRR, 2, 4, 6 Constitution, and you can no longer use Evasion, Druid, Wild Shape Feats, or Primal Avatar's Tree form. Bolstering Contract is new. It is 5 spell points. You create a drone set to disperse protective potions every 10 seconds for 60 seconds. You and nearby allies gain a +5 determination bonus, PRR, and MRR. That is, I believe, replacing the temporary hit point. Or
yep.
The big temporary hit point. I like the temporary hit point one a lot better.
Me too.
Even if I would have preferred they would have just toned down the hit points, right?
Me too.
This just seems boring.
I'm probably, if that makes it to live, I probably won't ever use it. I'll be honest.
Yeah, +5 PRR and MRR is functionally less efficient than some temporary hit points.
Oh yeah.
Because at best you're talking about 2.5% less damage from physical and magical sources, as opposed to having, I mean, even because it was getting pretty high, but I mean, even if it was giving you like 50 to 100 temporary hit points, that would seem to be not as.
I would still take 100 temporary hit points at 30.
Oh yeah,
plus
absolutely.
5. Yeah,
absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of a bummer. I guess what happens when people they go a little over the top and people really complain about it. Can't just change the numbers, really, guys? Come on. Let them just change the numbers. Anyways, Tier 5 of the Paragon Body was updated to no longer suffer Arcane Spell Failure from armor. Hey, that's kind of fun. +4 to fortitude saves and a 20% ratio bonus to maximum hit points. Which I'd have to check, but if it's a racial bonus, I think it would potentially stack with the Defender stances.
It does. Yeah, it would, rather.
That could make for some interesting hit point races in multi-class.
I think also the ASMR, isn't that competence? Pretty sure it's competence bonus.
Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
You get some crazy numbers.
Yeah, so that'll be kind of interesting to see what people do. All right, so that's the news for the week. Renegade Mastermaker and Druid. Why don't you give us your quick thoughts on either one or both of those?
So with Druid, again, I don't play too much Druid. I've only done a few builds of it. Usually multi-class too, but they're fun. My thing I always like is the spells, and I am glad they're updating a lot of the spells. So as a caster, there's a lot of nice quality of life from what I saw. Wolf really does look enticing. The one thing I'll agree with you, it's just the feats that they're requiring Druid melees to take now just seems like way too much. It's a bit of a feat tax, honestly. But then with going over to Mastermaker, I don't know. I can't quite tell what Steel's trying to get for this tree. It keeps kind of going back and forth. I really do like the melee additions, the cleave. That seems really exciting, actually, for the melee artificer. That slow effect is really nice, and artificers might really be able to be AC builds now, which is exciting in that sense. I'll probably be taking, if the tree makes it live in any kind of way like this, I'd probably take the defense clickies over the bolstering construct, because it's more bang for your buck, honestly, if I'm going to take that at all. I wish I wish Steel had just decided to drop the HP a little bit, the temp HP maybe, but whatever we get, we'll get. And I don't know. I think just like the little things like Uncaring Master, just being in the base class is really great, and Palliative Admixture being now scaling is really pretty nice, and I'll probably grab that more often now in my builds. Yeah.
I definitely like where Renegade Mastermaker is going. I find it'll play to my style more than the Arcano Technician will, for sure. Yeah, the Bullstring Contract is kind of the eyesore for me, given that
That's a tier 4.
Yeah, the problem is I don't necessarily care if it's the PRR or the temporary hit points, but you went from a really a too effective temporary hit point bonus to a minimally effective PRR and MRR bonus. Like,
Yeah.
pick one and give it numbers that are actually meaningful. It's kind of really
They're going apples to oranges here.
Yeah.
You can't go HP and then
+5 to PRR and MRR for 60 seconds for a minute every 3 minutes. It's just not that good.
Mm-mm.
And the more PRR and MRR you have, the worse that's going to be. So the temporary hit points doesn't really matter.
If it was just like a static aura, I'd probably take it.
Even then, though, +5 PRR and MRR for a tier 4 aura. I mean, all the defensive stances get 5, 10, 15, and at tier 1, I believe Warlock has some of that stuff in there as well. So it's just
I'm not really sure.
It's not competitive. The numbers he's proposing aren't competitive. It's less time, less benefit. Yeah, the numbers need to be reworked, or it needs to go back to temporary hit points. And even then, the numbers need work and stuff. So, and I agree. The Druid stuff looks really interesting. I think it'll make playing Druid more exciting, but that feat tax is again an eyesore. They need to kind of figure out what they're going to do there and tone it down, or tone it down, but get a better bang for your buck. So,
yeah, I like your suggestion of kind of like having some of them tied in together.
Yeah, you can.
So if you had one or two,
do it as 3 separate feats that benefit off of if you've taken the other ones. I think that would work better.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if you did it as a you do natural fighting, improved natural fighting, greater natural fighting, and just put some of those bonuses in incremental steps, right?
Or if you took the 3rd tier, it unlocked like claws of the, what were they called? Claws of the bear, or then fangs of the wolf. And that was just like the 4th feat, so still less feats that way.
Yeah, more than 3 feats I think is a bad direction to go.
Yeah.
Bonus days. Let's talk about bonus days through March 4th. So this has been going all week. Hopefully you've been really enjoying it. Plus 20% Heroic and Reaper XP, not Epic, just Heroic and Reaper, and a +5 VIP bonus. So that'll end on Sunday. The store news, the sale is the Advance Your Alt sale. So you get 25% off of Tomes of Learning, select low-level adventures, and +2 ability tomes and character slots. You also get a free Lesser Experience Elixir with a coupon code XP Elixir. That's it, the letter XP Elixir. And then also through March 4th, you can still get double bonus points and Heroic and Epic Autos boxes. So if you're looking for those, good time to get it. Let's talk about community news. We had the 273rd Chronicle, the 12th anniversary, or happy anniversary for Dungeons & Dragons Online. So you can give them your thoughts on that. My thoughts are happy birthday. Good job. 12 years.
Yeah, happy birthday.
12 years is marginally more impressive than 11 years. But I mean, it's pretty impressive that we're still going on. That's pretty awesome. DDO Central wrote part 2 of a guest review of Ravenloft on BioBreak blog. That is SIP's blog. Let's see, Massively OP celebrated our anniversary with a live stream. So they live streamed DDO. Inside the Magic Circle with Tone Station is the newest show on DDO Stream every Wednesday night. The number of shows on the live stream is pretty awesome these days. You mentioned your streaming. Streaming in DDO has really taken off.
Oh yeah,
the last
really
year.
has.
It's pretty awesome. The Guild for the week. Wayfinder Wednesdays is a static group that meets every Wednesday night Eastern Time to quest and have fun. Comment for the week. What is your favorite DDO memory? Probably one that I've forgotten.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that one back in the Eternity raid, the Maybar. That was a lot of fun, even if it was laggy as anything.
Yeah. When it worked, when it wasn't crazy laggy, it was a lot of fun.
Exactly. That's one or the other.
Favorite DDO memory. It was kind of fun being a part of a group that I think it was one of the first groups to complete Elite Fall of Truth. And like, my favorite memory, it probably has something to do with raiding and figuring something out that actually worked. Recently, we did an Elite Strahd. We finished an Elite Strahd that went fairly well. We did have some problems in the end fight because we had some incredibly bad luck, like Strahd misting and then gripping the tank. And then I had one of the things to one of the icons. I think I had the icon or the holy symbol, one of the two. And I went to go use it on him, and Strahd unmisted came right over and whacked me on the head and killed me.
Nice.
And I also had the sun sword, so that was a major derail of our raid right there.
Yeah, getting my first LE Strahd was a lot of fun too. Yeah.
But we had a lot of fun doing it. So and other than some really lousy luck involved with that, we did really well in that. So speaking of Strahd, we got a shout out for our strategy guide of the Curse of Strahd. I'm really disappointed in Cordovan for not picking up the pun that I used of the strategy guide.
Oh my god.
In the fan news, but such is life. DDO players news discovered friendly dynamite. I think that was my fault. If you didn't listen to the show, I play 7 Days to Die with the Damsels and Draculetta, and we were doing a horde night, and there were a lot of zombies. And I said, so I decided to use a rocket launcher to clear some of them out. So I said, "Fire in the hole," and they said, "Okay, go ahead." So I shot, and then the text in the little chat popped up. I have eliminated Draculetta. It was rather amusing. I just like. Of
course, it's Drac.
I loved the wording. You have eliminated Draculetta.
That's great. I need to go listen to that.
It was amusing. And then I'm like, I said fire in the hole. Anyways, City takes a dive into the update 37 patch 4 release notes. A very bad guild wore out their equipment in their latest video. Mickey ran down a week of raiding. Telwyn discovers why the Pit of Despair gets its name. That would be running the Pit quest. I like that quest. It's not that bad. Axel discusses how to make YouTube DDO videos. So if you're looking for some tips on how to do that, there you go. We also did a show a while back about live streaming, which is very similar. Live streaming and making videos is essentially the same thing, other than live you don't get to edit, and it's live. So, see, Sip has the latest on gaming and DDO in a new blog post. McVegan Pants celebrated her 1-year stream anniversary this Sunday. Congratulations.
Ooh.
Bachelor Girl plays DDO every Friday on the DDO stream. Shoemaker provides tips and advice on helping out the DDO Wiki and the newest DDO Wiki talk, now on Wednesdays before Cordovan's show. Even says hello to Kobolds in this week's Streaming with Even. Brock and Friends roleplay every Friday night on DDO stream. Polani runs the Heccombs in a new YouTube video. Squishycaster heads to the Redwell Runes. And Cyber Magician travels to the epic Stormhorns. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
I keep waiting for the fansite news to start shrinking again, and it just keeps growing instead, so there you go. And let's see, they also celebrated 12 years of DDO in this week's weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream. So there you go. Also, Cordovan has a small update on work being done to DDO.com. Interested in that. Other stuff, see, Axel had a new video about death penalties that came out, I believe, yesterday. If you want to just kind of covering what they are and his thoughts on if there are enough or too little, kind of a thing. The Damsels of DDO had their 84th episode came out this week, and their podcast would be tonight, if you're watching this live on Saturday, March 3rd at 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Let's see, DDOCast News, DDOCast Splat. We ran the Anniversary Dungeon, and I'm sure most people who are familiar with running that will watch that and ask us why it took us so long. But we were kind of taking the flower sniffing route, and one of our group hadn't run it, so we kind of ran all the sections together. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. Let's see, Lightning Post. We had a couple people jump in about what we were talking about last week, particularly about the anniversary event. It was mentioned by DNews. An important thing we did not mention about the motherboard is it's wooden, which makes it one of the few tower shields that are Druid compatible. Yes, that is very important. Thank you for reminding us.
That's pretty cool.
It is. See, and Rose Faraday wrote in. So I had proposed as my make-up a question. I asked, where does the D12 send you? And Rose said, it should send you to the 12. Which is so obvious an answer, we completely couldn't even come up with it. So there you go. Great answer. And I'd go a little bit further and say if it's going to take you to the 12, it needs to take you into the planar chamber where you used to have to go to Shadowbreath.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which probably hardly anyone ever goes into. Or maybe the tavern in there would also be a good one, but it's got to be. It can't just be like in the 12 commoner outside the tower or like in the main area inside the tower. It's got to put you like in one of the off to the sides areas.
Make it really annoying, yeah.
Really obscure. Not necessarily annoying, but just the D12 it's a special occasion when you pull out a D12, right?
That's true. That's true.
So, unless you're a barbarian. So, all right, we'll close out the show here. Do you want to plug your stream? Or anything else?
Sure. Yeah, if you want to catch me, I kind of stream irregularly though. But you can follow me on Twitter, which is the same name, Hephaestus, but like the Greek god, but with an A at the end instead of a U. And that's also twitch.tv/Hephaestus. So yeah.
Awesome.
Cool things.
Well, thanks for joining me today. It's always fun to get a new guest on the show.
Yeah, this is cool.
Especially someone who's really interested in what we're talking about, right? Like, that always helps.
Yes.
Artificers are a fun class, right?
They are such a fun class.
I'm glad they're getting a little bit of love. They're probably my favorite past or reincarnation class. Probably because I play them somewhat more effectively and they're ranged, which helps a lot if you're doing even low.
It can be ranged. They don't have to be. True.
But they're very effective ranged. I tend to play them a lot better than warlocks, which I know are also a very popular choice. But
oh yeah.
Thanks to all the other contributors for DDOCast as well, and thanks to Tanny Some Games, Wizard of the Coast, and to Cyberbears for hosting the podcast. You can catch us on DDOCast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website as well, or you can support us on Patreon. If you'd like to be part of the show, or if you have a comment on this episode, or maybe a question you'd like to hear us answer on the show, something you'd like to hear us really dive into as a topic, or you just want to say hi, you can comment anywhere you can find this, or you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media. I am at ddocast. Follow us there for the latest cast updates. Our closing tips comes from Tarnish on Arganesson. Don't let mobs back you into a circle, then you won't be able to escape. Great advice. I have failed at that many times, including recently. So stay tuned for part 2 of our Curse of Strahd strategy guide coming up next. right, hello and welcome. We are talking about the Curse of Strahd. This is our official DDOCast strategy guide. This is part 2 of that. With me this week we have Voodu. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully this is helping people with shorter shows and stuff like that. If you listen to this live, you'll get all of this in one chunk. But for the people listening to it on recorded and published versions, just kind of trying to make the shows a little bit shorter, save some time on my end and all that stuff. So we're kind of breaking our discussion into different parts now. So last time we were talking about Curse of Strahd. We got through the first 2 phases. So we've navigated up the spiral stair, and we're at the heart, which I think has an actual name other than just the heart. I think the heart of Castle Ravenloft or something like that. But I've not paid attention to that very well. Let's see. So you go into the heart, and like we mentioned last time, the person with the sun sword has to go in first, so anyone else can get in there. So you get in there, and it's a small little area. There's some mist around. What can people expect in here, Voodu?
They can expect to die if they go into that mist. Stay out of the mist. And this is a mechanic that I haven't fully understood because I haven't experimented with a lot, but it almost seems like it doesn't kill you until you come back out of the mist or something like that. You take
like
for some damage while you're in it. Is that what it is? Okay.
I think it just starts a timer, but if you go out and you come back in, you're not safe. If you go out there, you will die. So don't go out there.
Yeah, stay out of the mist.
Solid fog is not a helpful form of crowd control in here. I had someone do that once, and then it just completely obscures the line between safe and not safe. So don't use fog effects in here.
If you haven't seen this part, it kind of reminds me of that optional in Desecrated Temple of Vol where you do the Maroots, where you're just sort of in this like dark, mysterious zone that looks like it has no walls, and keeps going. And that's what this zone looks like when you enter the heart. And there's just mist, like Patrick's saying, there's mist around the outside, stay out of it, but there's like a rectangular safe zone that, might be, like 60 feet by 30 feet or something like that. It's not a very big area, but you want to, stay tight in there. And you're going to be dealing with some shadows. You're going to be dealing with Strahd. You're going to be dealing with some, is it living disintegrate? Some sort of living spells. Those are pretty nasty.
We didn't mention about it on the stairs, but there's actually some living Finger of Deaths, I think, or something like that.
It is true.
They're not really that big of a deal, but yeah, there's
There's a lot of shadows in this part too, and that can be overwhelming. You can get overwhelmed really easily here.
And Strahd, of course, is running around. If you see blue circles, it's not like Mark of Death blue circles where you're gonna die really fast. But there are some blue circles that indicate there's a special thing that happens there. It's kind of a damage. I think there might be a debuff in that as well, but it's not hugely debilitating, but I don't recommend you just stand in and ignore it either.
I think it's like a negative energy AoE
that's
burst.
What it is.
And there's 3. He typically does 3 at a time. And when you get on higher difficulties, that definitely can do some damage. So if you have lower hit points, you're going to want to... He puts down that ring. That's like the warning, and it's going to come like 3 seconds later. So if you have lower hit points, get out of that ring.
This is one of those places... We've talked about with the shadows. It can be really helpful to have an in-team tank. It's also pretty helpful in here. You can lock down Strahd, so he's just attacking you. He does do a fair amount of damage, and I think a fair amount of it is evil damage, or at least it's definitely I noticed on my paladin that he hits pretty hard. But you can also usually what I do when I'm tanking is I won't just grab Strahd. When the shadows start popping, I'll in-team all of those as well, to kind of help insulate people from it's too small of an area to really fully insulate people from the curse debuff that we've been talking about, the hit point debuff, but it does help to just kind of grab as much of that aggro as you can. Also, good crowd control in here can be really helpful. The Hellhounds and the Shadows can all be crowd controlled, so that can be a really effective way of dealing with this. Once everything is dead, other than Strahd, you move on. So it's kind of just a war of attrition of killing everything before you get killed. It can be pretty hectic though, because it's a small area. There's a fair amount of mobs. I would say if you're ranged, keep an eye out for those living spells because they start in the mist, and it's really tempting for melee who are getting shot by these things to run out there and kill them. Which you can. It'll be a suicide mission, but it's more effective if the range folks kind of help deal with that.
This is not a part of the raid to be taken lightly. Like I said, you can get overwhelmed really quickly.
And it's an easy part of the raid to take lightly. So, once you're done, the Sun Sword will be, by the way, if you're holding the Sun Sword in this part, you don't get access to it, which means you have to pick it back up off the ground. Which really annoying thing about the Sun Sword is when it goes into your inventory, it clears off of your bar, your shortcut bar, so you have to re-put it on there. Really annoying. So you pick that up, you get a dimension door that will take you back outside the heart. You go back up to you. At this point, all of the traps and stuff, the mobs stop spawning. It's really easy to just go straight up to the rest of the top of the stairs, where you will find Esmeralda. Don't talk to her yet. That's important. When you talk to her, the shrine closes. So if you want to use the shrine, we go all the way to the top because there's just more room to find the D door and kind of spread out and that kind of thing. Toss the D door up. 1 or 2 people should stay so that you can talk to Esmeralda later. Preferably more than one. It hasn't happened to me yet when there's only been one person there, but someday that one person is going to get hit by the grip of Strahd and die. And someone's going to have to go get them. So 1 or 2 people there is generally a good idea. But everyone else can take a D door, go back to the start, and go back into the crypt rooms. And the room on the right to the east where you activated Strahd, there's a shrine there. So you can use that. This is where we generally use that. It's kind of the best point. You can only get here at this point with a D door, though. You can't exit the north staircase without a D door.
It's kind of weird that it works that way. So it almost makes you wonder, like, is it working as intended? I mean, it's not an exploit to do this, but it's awkward.
It is awkward. I kind of would. My second major gripe with this raid is this. It's not a big deal to get around, because usually if you have a random group of 12 people, you'll have a dimension door. You want to make sure you do. We didn't really talk about that when we were talking about personnel, but a dimension door is really helpful. But yeah, it really feels like there should be you talk to Esmeralda and you get sent back, and then Strahd's there, and then you talk to him to activate that part, which then closes the shrine. That would be a lot more useful.
Put some shrines at the top of the stairs there.
Or yeah, just move the shrine to the top of the stairs. That would also be a little bit more convenient. But anyways, that's kind of what happens there. So I like to call this kind of intermission in terms of our phases, right? A little interlude. All right, now we're going to talk about phase 4, which is the cards. And this is probably where it's going to get the most hectic, because people are going to get spread out. And I'll be honest, I haven't really found a way to do this that I like for doing it on Elite. I'm still kind of playing around with some of this. The basic premise here is, we mentioned last time at the start of the raid, you talk to Madame Ava, and she reads you 5 cards. Broken One, Horseman, Innocent, Marionette, and Dark Lord. She will give them to you in a specific order. This is where that order matters. So hopefully you've written that down, and you can put that back in party chat so everyone knows the order. Throughout the room, there are 8 columns, 4 on the west side of the room, 4 on the east side of the room, divided by a center shaft. And in each of those columns are 3 or 4 doors and pillars. They're kind of short, small pillar rooms. There actually are coffins. There's coffins in there, but I haven't really paid that close attention because I'm usually running around like a chicken with my head cut off at this point, along with everyone else in the raid. In 5 of these rooms there will be cards with a torch. You have to light the torches in the order of the cards given at the beginning of the raid. You have to find them and then coordinate lighting them in order. That's the easy part. For starters, if you didn't kill the trash in part 1, you're going to get that back. You'll have there's a dialogue that happens there, so you have a little bit of time before trash starts spawning, but you're going to get a ton of those lousy skull heads that are pretty nasty if you get them in groups. You also get 2 of the big red name shadows, and Strahd will also be running around trying to kill people. So once it really gets going, there can be a lot going on. Oh, and by the way, what Strahd will do throughout this section is he'll disappear in a flurry of bats, and that center column will get this kind of reddish mist in it, and that does damage to you. So you don't want to be there. It doesn't go all the way in the column. You can get around it on the edges, on the top and bottom, the north or south side of it. But it does do damage to you, so it's important to know that as well. Okay, that's the setup. Voodu, how do you guys tend to deal with this section?
So at this point, your guys, whoever's at the top of the stairway, has not talked to Esmeralda yet. And so you're free to move about the area with the doors and the little mausoleums. If you didn't clear the trash, those 21 mobs earlier, you're going to want to sweep through that and do that at this point. Once you've done that, it's nice and quiet. You can all move freely about until someone talks to Esmeralda. And so what we like to do, after we make sure all the trash has been taken care of, is we actually have a guildie of mine actually made a map that has all the different doors like color-coded into groups. And then he'll assign a person to, you're going to get these 3 doors, and you're going to get these 3 doors, and everybody takes their positions all around the map. And then as soon as the person talks to Esmeralda, you're going to have about 10 seconds, 15 seconds before that trash starts spawning. And in those 10 to 15 seconds, if everybody's ready to go, you can open your 3 or 4 doors that you're assigned to and get them all marked before you start having to deal with a lot of trash. So what we do is, like I said, everybody's assigned to 3 or 4 doors. And then after we get them all marked, everybody makes their way over to the southeast corner of the zone. There's like a little cubby that for some reason, there's a very short death timer when you're in that little cubby. It's not the minute or minute and a half or 2 minutes. It's just like 6 seconds. I don't know why that is, but that's where we drag all trash to. We clear that trash out. Then we send people back out to the cards in groups of 2 at each card. That way, if one person gets, there's going to be respawn trash. If one person gets interrupted while they're trying to click the little torch, there's another person there. So 2 people at each of the 5 cards. You call them out, you hit them in order, and then you could advance to the next part. One thing that's worth mentioning, and I didn't even notice this until I had run the raid at least a dozen times, is that some of the, when you open up the door, what you're looking for is like the card, the marionette and the Dark Lord or whatever, that's floating there, and there's a torch. And the way that you activate it is you click on the torch. But the cards, I guess, are all facing the same direction, which might be away from the door.
Occasionally,
so you actually have to go in there and look at it from the other side. And I didn't realize that. Like the first time I had noticed that, I thought, oh no, the card's bugged. It's not saying what it is. But I just had to look at it from the other side. So don't freak out if you open the door and there's just like this blank card there. You're just seeing the back of the card. Just go to the other side to look at it.
Some things that'll be helpful here to mention at this point is I always ask people to type out that they found the card, what card they found, and roughly where it is. We tend to use a grid system, so I've mentioned that there's the 8 columns, so columns 1 through 8 from left to right. So when you open up the map, you can see all of the columns, each of the rooms. You can see them all there in the columns and rows. And usually what I tell people, columns are left to right. As you read 1 through 8, 4 on the left or the west, 4 on the east or the right. And at least give us the column. And we call the rows A, B, C, D, which is fine. So you can do like Innocence in 7A. So I know that that's in column 7 all the way at the top. Really, if you just said 7 top or 7 middle or 7 bottom, that's close enough. You don't need to be super precise. This is where Bigby's hands can come in handy. People will sometimes mark the locations with Bigby's hands. If you're doing this on a really hard difficulty, I would recommend that more than on a hard or normal, where it's not as crazy. What we tend to do is we just go by column, so people will line up on each of the columns and then go. The important thing here is however you divide up the door allocations, make sure you open all of your doors. If you find a card, don't just stop. However many doors you're assigned to do, find them all. Then, depending on how you want to do it, a lot of times what I see is people will go back to the cards that they found. Just make sure you find all the cards in your row or whatever, because I've had people stop looking and just park at their card, and they have another card in their column, and it doesn't get found for a while. The trash is kind of a thing, right? So we tend to try to get it done as fast as we can, which gets a little chaotic, and trash can build up and people can start dying. I usually give it about a little bit of time. Like usually what I tell people too is if you don't find a card, you use the southeast corner. I actually use kind of the door as kind of my rally point, probably because I didn't know about this exploitive death timer thing that you're pulling off here. But we pull people. So if you don't find a card, what I tell people is to bring trash down to the door and we're going to kill it there, right? The important thing to know is if you don't get this done fast, you're going to get overwhelmed with trash unless you deal with it. Because you're going to get probably like 10 to 15 skulls spawning, plus these 2 big shadows. So it can get pretty hairy pretty quick if you don't really kind of get everything done quickly. Plus Strahd's running around.
This part can definitely turn into a soup sandwich really quick, and
Yes.
the grip can be especially messy too because you're all spread out,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, if you get the grip at this point, you are probably going to die, unless one of the 2 people that has the thing to get rid of it happens to be very close to you.
In this section, it's very important. If you do get the grip, you need to give a rough location too. If I just share, I've got the grip, cool, you're dead. I'm not even going to try. I might click on your name to see if you're in range, and then I might click it, but like I'll give it a token effort in case you happen to be there, but there's so many blocking things, you get really spread out. Like you're hosed. Sorry. It's just kind of how it's going to be. The thing that I've kind of been experimenting with is how long do you wait to try to really kill trash. What I've kind of been doing is, we try to do a really quick blitz, and at a certain point I tell people, everyone to the door. Everyone, drop what you're doing, get your ass there. We're going to kill stuff because it's getting overwhelming, kind of a problem. Your tank can grab the red name shadows. I don't bother killing the red name shadows. They do respawn at this point, and they have a fair amount of hit points. So if I can get someone healing, a healer and a tank to kind of lock that down and killing the stuff that's around it, it's not really worth killing them. They don't do too much damage. It's not completely debilitating to be able to shield block if you got some heals coming your way. It's hard to self heal those shadows, because every time you heal yourself, you get hit and then you get cursed because you're not blocking during that portion. So that's kind of worth knowing. It also is helpful to know that if you really get off track, and you can retreat to the antechamber, you can run out the door or you can D-door. Those are both options for what you can have happen there. So keep that in mind as kind of a fail-safe. It's a little bit better than just completely failing the raid, especially at this point. Anything else we should mention here?
I'll mention something that went horribly wrong in one of our R1 runs about a couple weeks ago. And that is, whoever is at the top of the stairs that's, going to talk to Esmeralda, make sure that they do not talk to Esmeralda until everybody's in place at those doors and ready to go. If they talk to Esmeralda, say, when you're still getting everybody in place and you're not ready yet and stuff starts spawning all over you, that can really turn that part into just a giant mess. So Make sure that you clearly communicate to the person who's up there next to Esmeralda to not talk to her until you have clearly stated that now is the time to talk to her.
Your map is a very useful tool here. If I'm one of the people that's up there, what I'll do is I'll open the map and center it on the area that we're going to be in, the crypt area. And you can see all the little blue dots. If you don't know, there's a map, and it shows your party members. I've had a lot of people don't realize how useful a tool this is. But you can see everyone moving around, and when all the blue dots stop moving and they're in the main area, you're pretty much ready to go, right? So that's how I kind of make sure people are ready to go. Mystic Dragon Rider in the chat is mentioning that the shadows seem hasted. Yeah, all of the shadows are pretty dang fast. You can't kite them effectively. I have, in extreme circumstances, run around the rooms to try to minimize how much I'm getting hit by them, and also kind of block skull damage and stuff while I'm waiting to hit my card, which sort of works poorly, but it's better than just standing there and getting smoked as kind of a ditch effort. But they are fast. You're not going to kite them around very well. All right, so we finished the cards, hopefully, successfully. Once you finish, we should mention too, when you finish the 5th card, everything goes away. All the trash despawns. So that's important to know. Also, if you hit the cards in the wrong order, and it will also time out if you don't do it fast enough, you have to start over. All of the cards will delight. So kind of be aware of that. It is again helpful to at least type out where the card locations are, so people kind of know generally where they are, in case someone who has the cards dies, or is at that card dies, you know where to go. It's always really annoying to me when it's Dark Lord. I'm dead at Dark Lord. Okay, great. Help. I'm a little busy with I know the map's a useful tool. I just said that, but it's a little difficult to open the map and figure out which blue dot is yours. So can you give me a hint about where it is, right? So type it out with location. Don't just say I'm at Dark Lord or Innocent or whatever. We want you to type it so we can look back and say we found them all 5 before we start lighting them up. And we know where they are as a group, not just you know where one card is, because then everyone's going to be looking for it, and it might derail things. Okay, so we finished the cards. Pick up the pieces. Pick up the Sun Sword if it fell down on the ground. Pick up Soul Stones. Take them over to the west. I would say don't get too close to the door. I have had Strahd actually activate while everyone's on the outside of that room for some reason. Your idea, this is a good point where to sleep, like you were talking about. Make sure you either have people up or you're ready to go without them. Make sure the person who's going to be swinging at Strahd, it doesn't necessarily have to be one of your tanks, but someone needs to have the Sun Sword in their main hand to poke Strahd, or you're not going to do any damage to him. That's important. And then once you're ready to go, you can step in. If Strahd hasn't activated via bugging, you can get in there and kind of see what's going on and get ready for that. So, Phase 5, the end fight. Tell us what's going to happen.
Here's what's going to happen. There are only 4 mobs in the end fight. And it's not a very big zone. It's kind of a big rectangle. It's kind of long. And so you're going to have Strahd, and you're going to have his 3 brides. And so I think what most groups are doing, what we've always been doing, is basically you have the whole party on Strahd, and then you're going to have one self-sufficient person on the 3 brides. And they're going to keep them separate enough that AoEs aren't going to, AoEs that hit Strahd aren't going to hit the brides. And what you want to do here, and so besides these 4 mobs, really the only other thing that you're dealing with, you got the Grip of Strahd, and then periodically Strahd is going to do his little laughter, which is going to cause the mist to come up. And the mist is either going to be in the middle, or basically there's going to be a safe zone. It's either going to be north, middle, or south. So you're going to want to make sure to call that out. When Strahd does his laughter, he disappears, the mist starts to form. When you see that safe zone, you're going to want to call that out and make sure that everybody goes there. Otherwise, that mist is you're going to get killed by it because it ticks for damage really fast.
I want to jump in on something here that you mentioned that I think a lot of people kind of gloss over, is he cues what's going to happen when he laughs. He also disappears, but he starts laughing. And it's really helpful if you're the guy if you're attacking Strahd in melee or you're really close to him and you can hear that Strahd, let people know that he is misting. Let people start to react to that before the mist comes up. It can also be helpful to fight him kind of near-ish the coffin in the center, just so if you're all the way south and you have to go all the way to the north side, it can be a long way to go.
That's a really good point.
So it's also worth noting, we should mention that the coffin blocks heals.
Yes, it does.
So be aware of that.
It blocks heals, and it blocks, like, if you got the grip on one side and people are trying to hit you and they're on the other side of the coffin, it can block it. And you have such a short amount of time to hit that person that even just moving around the coffin that extra couple seconds can mean the difference between life and death in there.
There's really only one time I like to be standing next to the coffin, and we'll get to that later. But the rest of it, I try to stay either like on the north or the top or the bottom of the coffin, not to the side, so you can kind of get a little bit better of an arc around and kind of stuff. But healers and support people should kind of watch their position around that coffin.
Mm-hmm. So right now you've got basically 11 party members, your tank and the other 10 people, beating down Strahd, and they want to basically get Strahd prepped down to 5% or whatever, while the other one self-sufficient tank is dealing with the brides and getting them prepped. The brides, if you're doing normal, they're pretty thin. They're easy to kill by accident.
Elite, they're pushover. In terms of hit points, they're pushovers. They can do a lot of damage. I would also mention, that person that's holding the brides, we don't do that unless we're doing like elite. We kind of ignore them on hard, and they end up on different people, so they're not to be too debilitating. But if you need to put a second person on them, helping them stay alive, that's fine. It's totally fine. Again, like I mentioned last time, that this is not, you don't really need a high bursting DPS here. It's really about controlling your DPS and applying it at the right time, and getting your timing right. Burst DPS will help to a point, but if you're really high burst DPS, you might kill brides too early and stuff like that. So
easy to kill by accident.
Yes. So having them off to the side, particularly when you're getting close, and that's really helpful too.
A very self-sufficient person here to take care of the brides is helpful, because they're nasty. They're shooting you with all kinds of spells, and they're debuffing you. They're hitting you with the spell magic, so like you lose your shield, and they're throwing all these magic missiles at you.
Mm-hmm.
They could be pretty nasty.
Freedom of movement is a must.
So like if you're like a warlock and you have an option to get like permanent shield in your Enlightened Spirit enhancement tree, like that can be helpful. Like I've been
just
meaning
do
to
that.
pick that
If
up.
you ever have that as an option, do that. It's a great ability just anywhere, but yes.
Mm-hmm. I tell you what, when I get a couple extra racial action points, it's going to be the first thing I pick up is that permanent shield.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to have just everywhere in the game. If the brides die while you're prepping Strahd, don't worry about it. It's really not that big a deal. You can prep them down. Again, they don't take much effort to prep at all. It was mentioned in the chat by Mistwalker. Yeah, so the misting thing, he only does that between like 95% health, and I think the official number was like 20, 25. I don't remember exactly what it was. There was a bug briefly where when he would mist, he would get all of his health back, which was really challenging. But
I didn't even do the raid when that happened.
We were still doing it. It was okay. You needed more of a burst DPS at that point. But a lot of times what I'll tell people too is don't use your burst DPS until he comes back from his first mist. Because he generally, probably 90% of the time, when he gets to 95%, he mists right away. It's very rare that I see him get below half before he missed. So save that burst DPS. That way you don't click everything and you're watching your timer tick down while he's not there. So wait till you get orange numbers when he comes back to use that big DPS bursting. All right, so we got Strahd prepped. Usually I like to prep him so his health is just below the S. You don't have to worry too much about dots, because if you stop hitting him with the Sun Sword, they stop hitting him. They stop doing damage to him, which can be helpful to know. Some things to watch out for here. Keep the guy with the Sun Sword alive. If he dies, the Sun Sword will be on the ground. But I did have a situation where I had the Sun Sword, and like, all right, let's go. And I said, let's go. Everyone left, and I got gripped. Right there. And I'm like, grip, pancake, hello. And I die, and the Sun Sword goes on the ground, and everyone's running around. I'm like, guys, the Sun Sword's on the ground. Someone needs to pick this up. And it took about a minute for someone to pick up the sun sword and actually figure out. And people are like, I can't get, no one's hitting the side of the sun sword. I'm like, the sun sword's on the ground. I've said this 5 times. Are you going to wake? Like, pay attention. You know, just in general, if you're in a raid, pay attention, right? So if you die, the sun sword will end up on the ground. So that's really important to know. So we've got Strahd prepped. I like to get him so his health bar is just below the S in his name. The brides, a healthy 10 to 15% is fine. These things drop like pain. They drop, right? Like they have no hit points to them. So you've got everything prepped. Don't just say, okay, they're all prepped, and then go. Make sure there's no like hidden dots on them, or like someone didn't get them a Sharati dot that's gonna kill them before you're ready. If you're the raid leader, it can be really helpful at this point to kind of keep an eye on them. But we're all prepped and ready to go. As a raid leader or anyone, you know, if until like there's actually the command is given to kill the brides, if one of the brides drops, usually what I do is I just go stop. But say something to get everyone to stop what you're doing, because you're gonna want that bride to get back up and reset. The brides do not stay down very long. In order to win, what needs to happen is you need to have Strahd and all 3 brides dead at the same time, and have the person with the sun sword talk to Strahd, open a dialogue box in Strahd, who will then be in his crypt, and pick the top option, which is plunge the sun sword in. When that happens, you win. But if any one of the brides is up, there's a barrier, and you can't talk to Strahd. So the timing here is really critical. I cannot emphasize enough that you should kill Strahd first. Strahd stays down way long, like triple the amount of time that the brides are down. But you still don't want to bring him down until the brides are ready to go. If you miss, Strahd comes back at full health. The brides also come back at full health, but that's less of an issue because they're pretty easy to kill. So it's really important that you get the timing right. So I actually recently had someone in my party that thought a little bit too much for themselves, and I said, okay, kill Strahd, and then he killed the brides. And that was really not helpful. I knew who, and I didn't call them out in the raid. I just said, okay, don't kill the brides until I say kill the brides, because you really should wait until Strahd goes down, and he'll become inactive. You get the yellow name, and he'll become inactive. That's when you want to kill the brides. Again, they don't take much to do. Knock them down. I would say if you have the sun sword, go to the side of the coffin. Go right up to the side of the coffin, not at the ends. The side, I find, is a lot better spot to be in. You can select Strahd before the barrier goes down. I also like to get my mouse free at that point, and I put it right in the center of my screen. So, you know, I get Strahd becomes, you can see the red barrier go down. I've already got him selected. Hit the use button. The dialog box pops up, and I click plunge the sun sword into Strahd. You don't even know what actually set. Just pick the top option as fast as you can. People will be screaming and yelling at you. Not a lot, but you know, I can pretty much guarantee you that someone's going to say go, or put the sword in, or something to that effect. So, did I miss anything? Anything you want to add there?
Yeah, you covered it. It's just I'll emphasize, you know, it's really important to be paying attention. Don't kill anything until your raid leader says so. This is not a raid that you can just, you know, rest on your laurels and go to sleep and turn on auto attack. Like, you really got to be paying attention at pretty much all stages of this raid. You're not just gonna, you know, stand in the corner and pew and, you know, mindlessly. Like, you've got to pay attention. You've got to do, you know, certain tasks in a certain order, kill in a certain order, etc., etc. So make sure you're paying attention.
And also, you know, when things are getting close to those prep points, that's not the time to hit adrenaline and hit them with a sniper shot, right? It's controlled DPS here. That's the main thing that you need to understand about your DPS. One last thing I want to say before we close out this strategy guide is pay attention to the person who has the sun sword. if they get gripped, you better damn well be ready to ungrip them, because that could totally hose your timing. Keep them alive. I I had a run where the guy who had the Sun Sword died right after Strahd went down, and I was paying attention. I was alert. I saw the Sun Sword on the ground. I quickly grabbed it. Had that brief moment of, oh my god, I need to find my inventory to equip it, before I realized, no, I don't. I just got to talk to Strahd, Strahd's corpse. So, and again, I'm not saying this in the sense to say, hey, look at how awesome I am. But the reason I'm saying this is this happens. And because I was alert and picked up that Sun Sword and knew what to do with it in that 3-second window, we didn't have to start over in that phase. So it's really about timing. It's really about knowing what's going on. Make sure you have a freedom of movement, because they cast holds. Have curse pots, because, as I mentioned last time, I had the Sun Sword, and we went, okay, we're killing Strahd. I got incapped with a curse that prevented me from being healed, and I had the Sun Sword, and I wasn't dead. I wasn't on the ground, and Strahd died. And I'm like, get me a curse and a heal. I need to remove curse and a heal. Get me up. Right? Like, that kind of stuff will happen. So the more you know and the more you are ready and calm about it, I mean, I was, quote, calm, other than the fact I was like, I need a heal, get me off the ground. I can't heal you. I know, give me a curse spot, right? Like, there was a lot of that back and forth. But I was playing with people that, we can react to that kind of stuff. You have to be ready to react to that kind of stuff, or you might end up redoing this phase of the raid. So, anything else you want to say about Strahd?
I think we covered it.
It's a fun raid. I hope you have fun doing it. I really like the raid in terms because it has a lot of mechanical stuff about it, which I always really like. It's not overly complicated, but understanding the mechanics will really give you a better chance for success, and that's why we're doing this. So, all right. So thanks for listening. I want to thank my guest Voodu for joining me here today. If you want to support the show, you can visit our website, DDOCast.com. Or you can support us on Patreon. You can also find show notes, past shows, and other stuff on our website. You can find me on social media and follow us for the latest cast updates. I'm at DDOCast on Twitter. If you'd like to join the discussion, you can leave a comment or email us at ddocast@gmail.com. So until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chests level appropriate, and have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.